Our guest today is a rising actor and talented musician, Jet Jurgensmeyer, who is excited to announce the release of his latest single, Falling 2. Now, Falling 2 showcases his growth as an artist and his ability to captivate audiences with his heartfelt vocals. Now, with his unique blend of country and pop, Jet has created a distinct style that resonates with listeners. His previous releases, including Everything Will Be Alright, Fast Forward, Compassion, and Talk to God have garnered widespread acclaim and further establishing him as a versatile recording artist. Now, beyond the music industry, he has made a name for himself as an award nominated actor, delivering remarkable performances in both comedic and dramatic roles. And in addition to his thriving acting career, Jet has accumulated a very impressive list of film and television credits, which we'll get to here in a moment. So without further ado, let's welcome multi-talented actor and recording artist, Jet Jurgensmeyer, to the show. Welcome, Jet.
Hi. Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Well, I'll tell you what, which came first for you, music or acting?
Both kind of came at the same time. I always make the joke when you're from Nashville, you're going to be involved in entertainment in some way, shape, or form, whether you're the guy behind the mixing board or the guy in front of the camera. So I started out on stage when I was 3. My parents owned a bar in Nashville, and I would get up on stage and sing and tell jokes and kind of fell in love with entertainment. And then just about a year later, when I was 4, I started acting here in Nashville. And about a year after that, started going to California at the age of 5. And here we are all these years later, still still going strong.
Well, it's funny because, so how long have you been in acting then?
Uh I mean, in November I will be 19, so that'll be 15 years.
Wow, because your resume is longer than most seasoned actors.
Thank
So
you.
you must have a great agent. And now, ladies and gentlemen, you got to really listen to this because his list of film credits is impressive. I mean, roles in Cupid's Proxy, Hey Arnold. How many of us love Hey Arnold? Then there was the Jungle movie. There's Ferdinand. There's American Sniper. And I mean, all of us saw American Sniper. Then he's got
I've
appearances.
watched that movie like 5 times just by myself.
Now, was that Chris Pratt?
No, that was Bradley Cooper.
Bradley
Which
Cooper.
which is so funny because while I was on set that day, because it's like one of the smallest roles I've done, but it was so much fun. It was a 1-day shoot. I checked off Bradley Cooper and Clint Eastwood on the same day. I was playing cornhole with Bradley Cooper in between takes. I didn't even recognize that it was Bradley Cooper because he looked so different, and he really, you would believe that it was Chris Kyle, the person he was playing. You'd believe that it was Chris walking on set, but it was Bradley Cooper. I didn't even realize it until after. I was like, "Wait a minute, that's Bradley Cooper." I was, what is happening? I feel like I'm in like some sort of crazy dream right now.
Well, okay, so you said Bradley Bradley Cooper and then Clint Eastwood. Now we know that Clint Eastwood directed American Sniper. Was there anything in particular? Did you get to learn something from Clint Eastwood?
I got to kind of learn how he commands the room, if you will, without being, for lack of better words, a jerk about it. He is not, he's not a loud person, he's very just kind of direct with what he sees. Also, I was young and he terrified me purely based off of the fact that he was Clint Eastwood and his voice, how kind of low and gravelly his voice is. I asked him something about my character. I was like, "Do you think I should do this?" And he looks at me and he goes, "Just do whatever feels natural." And I was like, "Oh, okay." It was terrifying but awesome at the same time. I learned a lot. I feel like you just, everywhere you go, everywhere I go, I always try to learn from everybody, whether it's the camera ops, set deck, wardrobe, to the directors. And so I learned from everybody. I try to keep my ears open and my eyes just taking in as much information as I can. And so I think I definitely did learn quite a bit as far as how to be a good director and how to kind of control the room, and take control, but not not have to be rude about it. You don't have to yell to get your point across.
Well, yeah, because to me, and I've talked to others who have worked with Clint, and everybody says just incredible things about Clint Eastwood and the working relationship that they had, the things that they learned, things that he took time to explain. And to me,
Exactly.
you know, and you bring up the good point because directors really should be teachers on set and not tyrants and rulers and this is my movie and you're going to do it as I say kind of thing.
Absolutely. And everybody, I think if you're in the business long enough, you experience those kinds of directors that think that's the way to go about. And I don't know who to credit for saying this, but I heard somebody say it one time. They said nobody works for a jerk, whether you're the CEO of a company or like a brand new waitress at a restaurant. Everybody's had their first day. And everybody then gathers knowledge and gathers experience as they go along and they work up. So you don't need to treat everybody like garbage or crap when you're on set. You know, you can I think kindness always ends up winning. And that's something you never really hear. You don't hear about people that were rude getting talked about 45 years down the line. You hear about the people who treated people with kindness and respect.
It's it's funny that you say that because I think just last night I have this habit of literally sitting on Instagram and flipping through reels.
I do
And
too. I do too.
and my wife is looking at me like, why do you sit over there and you're just like laughing all by yourself? Because there's just a lot of funny things, but there's also a lot of poignant things.
There
And it
are.
was funny because somebody had said, you know, it's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice.
That is, oh, I love that. I love that so much. It's so true.
Well, it is, and there was a gentleman that I was kind of watching this clip on, and he was a business guy, very very successful, and he used to be a ball boy, like at in the NBA, and so he said he had a very bad experience with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, but he had a fantastic experience with Dr. J. So
I
when
heard
he
this
be,
same exact clip. I know exactly what you're talking about.
and when he got successful, who did he go to? He went to Dr. J. So he said, always invest in your future self, which means be nice now because it could pay off later on down the road.
You don't know who is going to be who in 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the line. You don't know if you're an actor on set, you don't know if that PA that is there to make sure there's fresh water bottles in your dressing room, if they're going to be the president of Universal Studios in 20 years. You don't know. And some people might say, well, that's an awful way to look at it. You know, you're just looking at people for who they are, who they're going to be. No, just be a nice person. You don't have to be rude about it. It doesn't hurt you to just be nice. It hurts you when you're a jerk to people.
Well, it's kind of like, I always have this deal and I tell people when you go check in into a hotel, the moment you walk up to the desk, the check in, smile. Because if you walk up
Yes,
there and smile first, you may end up with something extra in the next few minutes.
absolutely. Absolutely. It doesn't take any extra energy to smile and just be nice. It does take extra energy to make yourself be just frustrated all the time and I'm gonna get what I want.
Well, okay, so now you've had a great, you're only 19, so you're already 14 years in the business, so you've got a great film resume, but then you also have a great television resume, and you were in The Last Man Standing with Tim Allen. What was it like working with Tim Allen?
I always tell people what you see is what you get with Tim. He is exactly what you see on TV. Um, he's the loud comedian on set, but he's also, and I mean this, he is one of the most genuine people I've ever worked with in the entire business. He is the kind of person that could be cracking jokes on set, and then you walk into his RV that's next to the studio, that's like his dressing room. You can walk on there and just have the most heart to heart serious conversation with him. And I just a very genuine, friendly person. Never was angry with anybody. If he ever did get angry or swear on set, it was only ever at himself. He would never do it to anybody. He would never yell at anybody else, unless it was a director that was his friend, and they would yell back and forth to make like a bit out of it. Never was angry with anybody. Always just the kindest person, most professional. Just would would walk in jeans, a black t-shirt, and like Converse or something like that. That's what he wore like every day. It's like Jay Leno in his denim shirt and jeans. It was that same sort of thing. And I'm just like, I'm looking at this guy and I'm like, you're one of the biggest names in this business, and you would not tell if he just walked into a bar.
Are you amazed that in the last 14 years that you have not only met but worked with these people?
Oh, absolutely. It's bizarre to me. I have fun actually a funny story about Tim. My first day on set, we were running through rehearsals, and I'm not in this scene, but it's my first day on Last Man Standing, so I'm going to be watching. And I hear Tim say something in like the Buzz Lightyear voice. He might have even said to infinity and beyond. And that's my childhood. So I ran off set. I find my parents and I'm like, he's Buzz Lightyear. And they look at me and they're like, you didn't know that? And I was like, no, I did, but like it didn't hit me. So that was like one of those moments where it hit me and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm working with Buzz Lightyear. And Tim ended up, I think it was my first year on the show, for like my birthday, he gave me a picture of Buzz Lightyear and Woody signed to me by Tim. And that's something that is irreplaceable. You can't just buy that. And so it's moments like that. Working with Betty White, that's one of those where I'm like, what in the world? This is a legend. Another one of those people. What you see is what you get. Just genuinely funny, always. And the first person who really treated me like a professional in the industry, because I was so young when I worked with her, she didn't care. She treated me like I was one of the adult actors, and that meant the world to me as a 7-year old, 8-year old working with her.
My good Betty White. Wow, what a legend and an icon. I mean, what has been your greatest high being on set?
You know, that's a. I've never had somebody ask me that, and that's a great question. Uh, I don't think I can pick, like one specific moment because it's one of those things where, I referred to always keep your ears and your eyes open, always stay learning. And so I never take anything for granted. Every moment that I get to do what I love every day, I'm thankful. God has a plan for everybody, and I'm just like, I can't believe that I get to do this. Um, so that's a little bit too tough to pick a specific one. I do always tell people when they ask like for advice on getting into acting or music, I say be willing to fail and have those lows. Be willing to not get the job. Be willing to tank while you're on stage, completely mess up your set list because it will make every high feel so much better. And so
Hey, I
I
like
can't pick
that.
one. Thank you.
Wow. Now I know I know that you also do voice acting.
Yes,
You've
sir.
done roles with Nickelodeon's Shimmer and Shine. There's Bubble Guppies, Amazon's Stinky and Dirt, and even Disney's Special Agent. Oh, so Tots, and then
hmm
Pickle and Peanut. How did you get into voice acting as well?
Man, voice acting started once I started going to California, and I started doing voiceover work for Disney and Nickelodeon pretty early on. Whether it would be like dolls that Disney would put in their stores, like doing the when you press the button on the doll, like they do, they say something. Whether it be that, or whether it was on like Bubble Guppies or Shimmer and Shine, Special Agent Oso. I think I played like three different characters on Special Agent Oso, something like that, when I was like 6 or 7. I love voiceover work. It's one of I think it's one of the most underrated things in our industry because it's so much fun and it's a different form of being creative. It doesn't matter how you dress, how you look, if you walk in with a ball cap on, it doesn't matter. All that matters is that you can be creative, and if you can say the same words, the same line 5 or 6 different ways, completely different, so that they can have their complete pick. They can choose any way they want the character to say this line because you were able to give it to them in that way. It's just a different form of creativity, and I absolutely love it.
The great thing is you never have to go into makeup.
Exactly. You don't have to sit in that chair. And I'm a Southern boy, and I'm sitting, and I remember the first time they were like, "All right, we're gonna put some powder on you," and like 4 or 5 year old me was like, "What do you mean you're gonna put makeup on me?" Now I'm like, "Bring it on, make me look good, please." Yep. But I remember the first couple times I was like, "What? Why do they do this?" And now I, I realize the importance of it.
That is, I mean, from film to television to voice acting. I mean, th- that's very impressive.
It's a lot of fun. I'm very fortunate. I don't take anything for granted, all these years. It's crazy to think that I've been doing it for so long, and I'm 18, and then in just a few months it'll be 15 years of being in this industry, and I'm just so grateful, so thankful, and I can't believe I get I get to I
Well,
get to do this.
how are you managing the actor strike?
It's interesting because the strike itself, I feel like everybody kind of has mixed emotions about it. I really do. I think there's certain things that we should be negotiating for. I think there's certain things that we shouldn't, or we might be getting a little too greedy with. Seeing as we are actors, there are many worse jobs that I could be doing with my life. So I'm very fortunate. I don't take any of that for granted. So I think there's certain things that, as far as trying to negotiate or get more of, is a little silly. I am fortunate that music has been a big part of my life, and ever since COVID happened, a lot of live action stuff stopped instantly. In the beginning of 2020, or early on in 2020. So it gave me a chance to really focus on music and writing a bunch and recording a lot, performing out a lot. So it hasn't really slowed much up for me. I'm fortunate enough that Nickelodeon has a separate contract with SAG-AFTRA, which is, for the people that don't know, Screen Actors Guild, my union. They have a separate contract to where I can continue doing voiceover work for them, and it's not outside of the guidelines of the strike, which is very fortunate because I love doing voiceover work. I love working with Nickelodeon. So that's kind of my my take on it.
Well, I mean, to me, the two biggest sticking points is AI and
Hmm.
the streaming revenue. Is that something to be
Hmm.
concerned about?
I think the AI definitely. I think, like I said, I think there's certain things that should 100% be getting negotiated for. The AI is definitely a big thing. I'm interested. I don't personally know enough about the streaming to where I would weigh in on the negotiation. But I do trust. I know at least one of the people who is actively negotiating for our union. She's an actress. She's the president of our Nashville local board, and so I know that she's doing a great job. I'm currently running for the Nashville local board of directors for our union, which would be a really amazing thing. And I really would hope to be able to be in there for a long time because I'm only 18, but I've been in the union for a long time. I'm a vested member in my union, so I really want to be able to help other actors and kind of get this strike over with as soon as possible so that we can continue working, because in my eyes the strike isn't really helping anybody.
No, I mean, we feel it on our end as well. There are people that we can't interview or I can't interview based on the strike. But more importantly, you have a brand new single out, Falling To. What's the song
Yes, sir.
about?
This song is something that I think everybody will be able to relate to. Everybody has been a young person, a young teenager, and fallen for someone, thinking that they're the one, and had that sort of summer love, if you will. So this song is about being that young person. But what I try to tell everybody is all of the music that I write and release is all either something myself or one of my co-writers on the song is going through or has gone through. That way we can relate to the song and make the song as personal as possible so the listener can relate to it. So this is something that all of my co-writers on the song, Kyle, Brian, and Pearson, and myself, we can all relate to it. And so we really just kind of wrote this from from a deep place in our heart. And we really, I think that it's had a great message, and everybody has been able to receive it really well. And we have had people reach out saying how much they can relate to it, which means the world as a songwriter.
Well, the great thing is once you really understand the story behind the song, I think it helps, the recording artist, someone like you or someone else, when they sing, it's like what we say, wow, they really know how to sell that and to
That's a
bring that
big part to
emotion
me.
out. Yeah.
Absolutely. When I released my very first album in 2019, I believe, I was only a writer on one of those songs. I had only started writing for about a year or two. And after that, out loud, I told everyone around me, I set a goal. I said, I'm going to write all of my stuff from here on out. Because how can I tell these stories? How can I send this message out for people to believe if I don't believe it? If it's not my story, how can I tell it? And so that's exactly what I did. My album I released last year, I wrote all 13 songs on there with my amazing friends and co-writers. Every single story on that album comes from myself or one of those co-writers. And so we can all relate to it. And that's exactly what I'm doing with this next one. It's exactly what I did with Falling 2 and then this album that I'm currently working on.
Well, Nashville is a large community of songwriters. How do you know which ones to work with?
You know, uh, a big thing for me is there's a difference between songwriters, artists, and songwriters that are also artists. So if I go to a writer's round and I hear somebody that might not play guitar but is a songwriter, or might not really sing but is a songwriter, and they're in this writer's round, I don't I don't listen to them and be like, oh, they were pitchy on that, or oh, they don't know how to play that chord. I listen to it. I'm there to if I'm trying to make a connection with you as a songwriter, I'm only going to care about the song. And so though I love going to writers rounds. I love playing writers rounds. That's kind of the big way that I feel like I've met the majority of my co-writers. And then also once you make those connections, setting up rights with them and then saying, hey, bring whoever you in. I trust you. We've written songs together. Bring, if you think we should have like a third or a fourth person in this write, bring them in. Let's write. And that's kind of how you make new friends. But playing writers rounds is a big part of how I made a lot of my friends. I'm fortunate enough I get to play the Bluebird Cafe for the third time tomorrow night. And then, playing a bunch of different places around town. I mean, you can throw a stone walking in any restaurant in Nashville and hit five songwriters. Just like you can go to LA and throw a stone and hit five actors, or drive down the street and you'll just see them all along the street picketing right now. So you'll find actors everywhere there, just like you'll find musicians here.
Well, yeah, I mean, because I've talked to so many people from Nashville and they love that community of songwriters. If you don't know, if maybe you know how to sing, maybe you know how to play an instrument, but you have no clue on writing a song, the community is there to start
Absolutely.
learning and listening and just absorbing what that's all about.
That's a
What
great
was
way
it
to
like
put
for the
that.
first time for you? Being in a songwriter group.
Exactly what you just said. Being the person that was 13, only having written with like my best friend Olivia McKenna over FaceTime, first time you walk into that room, it's overwhelming and nerve-wracking. And I'm not the kind of person that really gets nervous very often because it's what I've done my whole life. But, walking into the first room where you're writing with people who are writers professionally and have number one hits, that's stressful. And they could not have been more welcoming. They could not have welcomed in a kid any better than they did with me. And I try to remember that, and I don't want people to think like, oh, he's only 18 but he's saying something like this. But now I try to do that with people as well. If there's somebody who's just getting into songwriting, or somebody that I meet and they ask to set up a write, absolutely, I will always set up a write with you, because it goes back to what we talked about at the start of this. Be nice to everybody. You don't know who that person's going to be. And you also don't know what they're going through. They might need to write a song to get something off their chest. I've done it. We've all done it. And you saying, no, sorry, I don't accept new people. I only trust my group. Why? Expand your circle. Keep growing. I always say the worst thing anybody can do is say, this is the way I've always done it. Why? Stay fluid, stay learning, stay changing, challenging yourself, because that's the only way you can grow. That's the only way your songs can grow. And that's the only way that you will continue to retain your listeners, is by growing, because they're continuing to grow and get older with you.
No, yeah, that's right. And especially when, I mean, as an example, look how old Taylor Swift was. And she had to go through some growing pains knowing that her fan base was getting older.
Exactly.
You know,
That is a prime example of somebody that we have literally seen become huge at what, 15 or 16, and continue to retain the biggest fan base in the world, arguably, right now. Throughout, how old is she? Is she 30 something now? I
yeah,
want to say she's maybe
I think yeah,
I think she's
definitely
30, something
30.
like that.
Yeah.
I know all the Swifties, if she's not 30, are gonna like hate me for saying she's 30. I'm sorry, please don't hate me. But that's
29
a
and
prime
holding.
example.
We'll keep it that way.
Yeah, 29 and holding. There you go, there you go. But that's a great example of how she has changed genres, and also a great example of her. She's said you can't please everybody. You can't change genres to make everybody happy. Stay true to you, uh, and stay writing what you know, because people are smart, and even if they're not musicians or in music and they just listen to listen, they can tell if you have no idea what you're singing about. They can tell if you have no idea what you're writing about, which is why I write about various different things. But as an artist at 18, I'm not going to put a song out about being in a bar drinking and partying with somebody, because they're going to be like, this kid's 18. What?
And
I'm the homeschool
you know
Catholic
who
boy. I
did
didn't grow
that?
up doing that.
Do you know who
Exactly.
did that? Leanne Rimes
Who?
did that when she came out with a song in which Trisha Yearwood ended up recording as well. And people were looking at Leanne going, how you're a little bit too young to be singing songs like that. So I think that the context of the song has to kind of match the age of the person, because
Absolutely.
you can't have a 17-year-old going around singing about sleeping around and hanging out in bars. So it doesn't make any
So
sense.
true. You mentioned my song Fast Forward earlier. When we were coming up with that song idea, I when I was writing it with Bridget and Jesse, uh, I was 15. I had just got my permit. And so they were like, "We can write a song about like you being in a car and stuff now." And I'm like, "That's true. We can." And it made sense because I'm now at the age where that is believable. The music video, I was driving the truck and I was like, "Oh my, you think at 13 years old I didn't want to be like driving a truck in my music video? Of course, but I had to wait till I was actually old enough to legally be driving a vehicle." So it's a lot of things like that. That's a great example. People are smart. Listeners are smart, and I think that they can smell bullcrap from a mile away.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like you have to respect your fan base. And I've talked to artists
Absolutely.
who, they still highly believe in doing the meet and greets, because it's that personal interaction with a fan that the fan will always remember, and you'll always retain that fan because of it.
100%. I mean, there I think a lot of artists forget they are the reason that you do what you do. They are literally keeping the lights on at your house. Be grateful. There are a lot, like I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of worse jobs that we could be doing.
Yeah. Oh
And there
yeah.
are people that do those jobs too, and we take all of them for granted. We don't think about the person that has to sit out in the 106 Tennessee heat and pour new asphalt for our roads and fix our potholes. We don't think about those people until we're driving over the pothole and we're like, why does somebody not fix this? It's like, well, you get out there and fix it. You don't want to. You're a musician. Be grateful.
That's right. Be grateful, and if you have a fan base, you got to give them what they want, give them something new, but never alienate your fan base, because they made you.
Absolutely. Thank you. That is a great way to put that.
Yeah.
I felt like I was the only one for so long that ever thought of this, but thank
Well,
you.
it's the old saying, don't bite the hand that feeds you. And that's what the fan base is. But I also want to ask you, Jet, because Are we going to see a full album from you soon with this single, Falling 2, on it?
Yes, sir. Falling 2 is just simply the first story of many that I am very eager to share with people. I have about a handful of songs that are already done. I'm gonna probably release maybe 2 more before the album comes out, and then I have a handful more I wanna go in and record. And one thing that I always do, I leave room for 2 songs on my album that are typically last minute adds, because I might write a song the week before we go into the studio, and it's like, this this song is 100% one that I need to record. And if I have my album filled up, then it's like, I don't want a 17 song album unless I'm going all the way like Morgan Wallen did with like 36 songs. So a prime example of that, on my album I put out last year, the 12th and 13th song on that album were written like days before we went into the studio. The 13th song literally was written just a couple of days before we went into the studio and were recording. And so it was a last minute ad. So I'll always do that. And my last album was called Phase One Discover. This next one is going to be Phase Two. And I don't know what it's going to be called yet next to Phase Two, because there's stories that are waiting to get told on it and that are waiting to happen in real time to me. So we'll see what right now it is Phase Two unknown.
Now I can't wait for the whole album to come out. So when it comes out, you got to come back. And
I will
real
do it.
quickly, tell us about your support for the Ryan Seacrest Foundation. Why is that important
Yes,
to you?
sir. I started working with RSF a long, long time ago, years and years ago, which is crazy to think about now. Essentially, what they do is they take donations, and they build radio stations inside children's hospitals across the country. And so there's one here in Nashville at Vanderbilt. They're out in Orange County and Denver, all over the country. I'm fortunate enough to be one of a very small group of us that have been including virtual visits to all of their studios, which is very, very cool. I did a fundraiser for them a few years ago, and it's they what they do is they have anybody from Taylor Swift to Ed Sheeran to local sports stars to me come in, and we'll play games with the kids. We'll perform for the kids. They broadcast to the rooms of the kids that can't come down because of their condition or whatever they're in there for, and it is one of the most heartbreaking and heartwarming things at the same time, because you're watching their day get changed in real time. You're watching the smiles get put on their faces, even if it's just for 3.5 minutes, for a single song, helping them forget about whatever it is that they're going through. It's the best feeling in the world, and it's all it's also so hard to go into those hospitals and do, because another again, be grateful, because we take for granted a lot of things. And those families that are in there getting to talk with the parents and the siblings, they're going through it just along with their child and their sibling. And a lot of times it's harder on them. I know that my parents, first time we ever went in there, they got back in the car and started crying. They were like, I
Yeah.
can't imagine just wanting to take that pain from my kid, but I can't. So it's I highly recommend looking into the Ryan Seacrest Foundation. Meredith Seacrest, Ryan's sister, runs the entire foundation. She is an absolute sweetheart. Uh, she's just the people that they have working in those studios are truly special, because to have that energy full time is so hard when you're surrounded by all of that sadness. But they
Yeah.
do not show it, and they are the best people in the world, the best organization that I have found myself being able to work with.
Well, Jet, I got to say something. For you being so young, you are seasoned, you are wise, and I am very impressed by you.
Thank you so much. That means a lot. Thank you.
And and of course, we wait for the well, not only the writer strike but the actor strike to end, and hopefully it'll end
Yes,
soon,
sir.
so everybody can get back to
Hopefully.
work and making TV shows, making movies. And
Yes,
ladies and
sir.
gentlemen, you better keep your eye on Jet Jurgensmeyer. So head over to jetjurgensmeyer.com for more about his acting, his music, and more. Check out the brand new song, Falling 2. And what do I always say when we talk about, uh, musicians and recording artists? Buy the music. You buy it,
Thank
don't
you.
download it for free. You support the craft, you support the art, you support the industry because music makes the world go around and music makes memories and we got to do our own part. So stop downloading for free. And even when Jet's singles out, I don't care if you need to go to iTunes and pay the $1.29, pay the $1.29. And when the album comes out, we're looking forward to it, Jet. And hey, right off the top of my head, I can think of Steve Miller's Jet Airliner, Paul McCartney's
There you go.
Jets, Elton John, Benny and the Jets. I think you got a couple of songs there you could probably cover.
I do, and I have a lot of people that are like hounding me to learn them. I'm like, all right, I'm working on it, guys. I'm working on it. There's a lot.
The Jet Jurgensmeyer Jet album.
There you go. That is a great idea. I like it. Are you going to charge me if I take that idea?
No, you can have it. You just have to come back for another interview.
I will do it. I'll do it when the album's out. We'll have to come back and talk about it all.
Hey, that will be great. And ladies and gentlemen, again, if you know what IMDb is, go on there and you can look at about how much work Jet has done in 14 short years. So be prepared. He is going to have a long, healthy, blessed television, film, and music career. Keep your eye out for Jet Jurgensmeyer. And again, go to jetjurgensmeyer.com. Hey, Jet, man, thank you so much for coming by today.
Thank you for having me. I can't wait to do it again. God bless you.
Hey, God bless you too. And as for me, ladies and gentlemen, I'll see you next time.